Hello and welcome to Indian Standard Time. I'm Siddharth Vardarajan. When it comes to making an impact on the global imagination, Bolivia is a shining example of the fact that size doesn't matter. This small country of 10 million people, landlocked, surrounded by Brazil, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay, has been ruled by President Evo Morales since 2006. A leader who, because of his political, socioeconomic vision for his country and for developments in Latin America, has had, shall we say, a disproportionate influence, disproportionate in terms of size of Bolivia, on the way in which the world thinks about economic policies and foreign relations. Joining me to discuss Bolivia, Bolivian politics, Bolivian developments over the past few years is Senor Jorge Cardenas, Bolivia's ambassador to New Delhi. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Surely a pleasure for Bolivia to be in India. And the example of that is that we have opened an embassy since April 2013, and our will is here. We need to connect, and that's why our mission is towards that aim.
Let's start with discussing the record of President Evo Morales. He was re-elected, so in 2014 he began his third term as president. In many ways, it's hard to imagine in our part of the world that a leader can succeed in getting re-elected so many times in a free and fair election. Tell us, in your view, what are some of the main reasons why President Morales continues to remain popular in Bolivia?
First, and the main one, social inclusion. A country being one of the richest in natural resources and in culture, where we have 60% of our, over 60% of our population poor-blooded indigenous or Indians that we
That's
call
right.
them, was under colonial mindset. And what we mean with that is that it was not properly ruled by few on the top and nothing going to the bottom. What he does is include the people, is put them, women. We're proud to have more women in the Congress, for example, in these past elections than men, which is unique, one of the few countries on the world.
This is the first time this has happened in Bolivia?
We did have, we even have a woman as president,
Right.
Lidia Alguerre Tejada on the back. So, but and we have many indigenous on our government, beginning from my president, with my Minister of External Affairs and others. So that's the big jump. And this goes parallel with another important. That has to come with economical things. What we did is nationalize many of our industries in order to have the incomes for us, for the people of Bolivia.
Right. For the benefit of our viewers, could you explain to us the rather unusual formal name that Bolivia has, the plurinational state of Bolivia? What is meant by this concept of plurinational in this context?
Break the change with colonial mindset.
Okay.
Republic of Bolivia is not us. We are a country with 36 different nationalities. Therefore, in order to have respect to each of them, we change the name, and it's plurinational state. It represents the pluriculturality of our people inside the country, beginning with our name.
When you say 36 nationalities, these are indigenous nationalities or including immigrants and so on?
Indigenous nationalities,
Right.
yes.
And the Aymara would be the
Aymara is, the Quechua is the largest with
okay.
2.5 million. Aymara is the second, Guarani is the third, and then we have many other, if you want to call on tribal size, on the jungle and on the highlands.
Right. And I would imagine that the bureaucracy, the military, would not be, I mean, the composition of the bureaucracy, how mixed is it? Is it a plurinational bureaucracy today, or is it still dominated by people of European descent?
No, it's inclusive,
Okay.
and that's the success of Bolivia. Because before, on theory, all were there, but that was not real. What we put is by law, you have to have indigenous, you have to have intercultural people, you have to have women. So with that on mind, it's a real at the local, at the regional, at the national level.
So affirmative action at the level of appointing officials And also in politics.
Yes. Okay. Well, you pick people from your representatives.
Right.
You know, and in order to that, you know, each area has their representatives they put on it. It's politically it's good. It's hard on the management level that will be, I believe, we'll be discussing this later on. But it's there, the will, and we are building this new country with success. So therefore, that's why we are third terms on power, right. Because the majority of the people are on government.
Right. Now, looking at the trajectory of Evo Morales as a political leader, he was active in the struggle of the farmers, the cocaleros, so-called coca farmers, and in particular after private water companies began to raise the tariff for water, and then you had the privatization of gas. Now, President Morales in power reversed all of these things. As you said, he nationalized many of these public utilities. In global economic thinking, the dominant view is that if you run public utilities, but if the government runs public utilities, then it may accomplish equity in terms of giving access to citizens, but this comes at the cost of efficiency, this comes at the cost of profit. How has Bolivia managed this tension between giving access to public utilities or public services and also ensuring that these are run efficiently?
The good thing of now is that we can go back through history and learn the good and bad lessons of what had happened. During the industrial time, many things were run by the state with their mistakes. Then it came on the 90s, the new classic, the new period with the School of Washington as one of the main leaders, where you privatize everything. Both things didn't work. What we are getting is best of both. But we have it's different when a country is done at a different level. What we mean with that, and it's good to explain what happened with the World of Water in 2001 in Cochabamba. The water was privatized to an American company, and suddenly your next bill was 150 or 200% more than the previous one. People were tired, went to the streets, they started blockades, and they discovered something, that as their political representatives were not there, they could do their own job by themselves. And on there's an important move called Movimientos Sociales. Social movements were born. Parallel, we have to go 10 years back with what happened with the different demonstrations of the indigenous people in our country. In the 1991 was the big demonstration done from the tropics all the way till the capital of the side of the government of La Paz, where the people want land and dignity. It was called the March of the Dignity. A whole majority of the indigenous, that we call Indians, by the way, and it's nice to see because I'm in India, okay? They thought they discovered Indian colonial times, so that's another tie that we share with your country. Two important segments of the society, indigenous and marginal groups from the urban areas, were together. And you're talking about over 60 to 80% of the population. That's the success. When you have reached and include these people, you will last longer. Right. And that's the main message to give.
Right. President Morales did very well to win the third term last year. But in local elections that were held earlier this year, 2015, his party, the mass movement towards socialism, did well, but not as well as you might have hoped. In important cities like La Paz, for example, and other major cities, mayoral candidates from the MAS didn't win. It was the opposition. What explains the perhaps shifting kind of support in urban areas? Is this a trend? Is this a product of something specific?
Internal colonialism is something you don't change from one day to the other. It's inside the society, and it will change only through long processes of development of better management. And it's not only in Bolivia, it's in the whole of the developing countries. It has to go with education. It has to improve many of these assets that were left before on the colonial mindset. And that happened, you know. So problems in administration with some of the funds, with our indigenous groups, for example, and that causes problems, you know. If there's also bad administration, what the indigenous, why? You know, that are our main base and support. Well, that is political. We say politically, that's the internal colonial mindset that we're working on it. Right. So therefore, it's times and periods, but at the long haul, we still are with the majority there.
And the recent strike by miners in Potosi, this is one of the demands they made is for more infrastructure, more development in their particular region. Is this one of the challenges for the Morales government to spread the benefits of development around the country?
Well, you have seen problems, and I will go globally a little bit, in Venezuela, Ecuador, now is Antun, last year in Argentina. The capitalistic system is not happy with such an effort of us where we are twisting the reality of the model. We are against that model and we are looking for other perspectives, and that's the main message. So they work good in the opposition trying to find the points. What Potosi wants, a cement factory, an airport, things that are not logical, you know. There could be other assets. We are developing the Uyuni sulfides that I was explaining to you, the largest lithium reserve on earth, for example. Over there we have Sumitomo from Japan, in one of the largest copper mines of the world. Some of the issues were, let's nationalize Sumitomo. Of course the government there says, no, we need private investment in companies such as Sumitomo. Therefore, no, we'll respect that. Again, it's run by the opposition, that it's logical. I mean, that's part of the game of politics, right. But we'll go through.
Right. On that note, we'll take a short break. Do keep watching Indian Standard Time. Welcome back to IST. I'm interviewing Senor Jorge Cardenas, the ambassador of Bolivia to India, and we've been discussing the accomplishments and challenges that the Evo Morales government in Bolivia faces. Mr. Ambassador, there's been a controversy in the last couple of years triggered by the government's decision to open up the national parks of Bolivia to exploration of oil and gas. And the reason there's been a controversy is because President Morales is seen as one of those personalities globally who has been a strong campaigner for environmentalism and for upkeep of Mother Earth, Pachamama, to use the Bolivian phrase. How does Bolivia plan to balance the ecological requirements or the ecological factors in the country with the need to get access to oil and gas for the country's development?
The percentage affected on the parks will be less than, at the most, 5%. So keeping 95% of one of the most pristine areas in the mountains of the Andes or at the Amazon, it's of course still our main task. But our country needs development, and development doesn't go alone only with protection. Therefore, we have to open more our minds. You know, the whole world did. You know, now they're claiming on us, developing countries, that we need to use some of these resources in order to improve our development, and that's our main phrase. So we'll be using enough in order to go. We just found another reserve, to give you an example, a month ago, that will increase our level of gas, where we are one of the richest after Venezuela in that resource. So with that on mind, we still defend. We are more than ever taking care all the steps, because right now technology had advanced a lot. So using proper technologies, having the aim that we had before, will continue. And of course, most of the reserves are still protected, and it's one of the things we want to continue doing.
And Bolivia has a fairly good record in terms of reforestation.
Well, we have good management.
Right.
The main thing, 10 million people. You know, I mean, we don't affect because naturally, you know, we have a large land, 1.1 million square kilometers of land.
Right.
So there are other analyses you have to do why that things are not so best, you know. Actually, it's not a demographic pressure as Asia has, to give an example.
Right. President Morales has been a central figure in the efforts that we've seen in Latin America over the last decade for greater regional integration. And we've seen great steps taken at different levels within different organizations. There's been talk of the ALBA and UNASUR and now, of course, CELAC. Do you, how important is regional integration for Bolivia, and what do you think are the main challenges that this process faces?
It's a political aim. Alone, we cannot reach or advance as much as we want. So we had the support in the particular case of us, of Venezuela with Chavez at the beginning, with Cuba with all the healthcare and educational support, and that's how we advance. We advance getting together with same philosophy. The small house, ALBA, the larger house, UNASUR, the larger house, CELAC, all against the main leader, US, the capitalistic system, but not in a fanatic way, because we have other ties, we have things that we do, but on a mind.
The US remains the largest trading partner for most members of CELAC, right?
Yes, but we are opening other channels, you know, and that's our tool. That's why we are in Asia. That's why India needs our region, and our region needs India. So these partnerships are part of a need. You have one of the most populated countries on earth. You need food supply, you need energy, you need anything. We have all that, but in a different. It's called fair trade. It's called not between middle handlers that take a lot of the consumption. We'll give you one example. Quinoa, one of our treasures, you know, this rich cereal in proteins, costs you here over $20. 250 grams.
Because it comes from America,
No,
from the United States.
It comes from Bolivia, either through the US
that's right.
or Holland, where they get the benefit. And in my country, costs 60 kg, $10 one kg. You know, in here costs $20, 250 grams. There's the answer. We need to be together with no middle handlers. And the way, the more we work in these visions, we both will get benefit.
In 2005, I think, when the Jindals tried to, or they signed a contract to set up a steel factory in, or iron ore development, the El Maton project in Bolivia, there was a lot of optimism that these two countries, despite the great distance, are finally going to engage in serious economic cooperation. And this was, in fact, heralded by many as a good example of South-South cooperation. However, the project didn't take off. The Jindals are out. Can India-Bolivia relations overcome that setback and find new exciting areas where cooperation can be possible?
The game was not properly played well, would be my answer. And I cannot go more into details because we are under arbitration, but good hope. I'm starting talking, for example, with Tata, a good player of your country, one of your big signals, that is interested in the Mutun. So, and that's my mission. That's why I'm knocking other doors. And so
you're hoping Tata may take over the Mutun project?
Yeah, hopefully. Or if not others. China is already. We have already a plant of $450 million with a quarter of the reserve of Mutun already in process. And the other quarter, how would be so great to have Tata, to give you an example. So that's my mission, get India into our trade and others. IT is another one, pharma is another one. So India has big assets that has helped the world, and of course we need each other, and that's the aim, to continue this thing.
I know India and Bolivia tried to have a deal on the sale of advanced light helicopters from India to Bolivia, but that deal also didn't go through.
Well, market now is we just bought French ones, as as you did, for example,
Right.
and that goes on market size. But yeah, we are interested in many other fields of India cooperation too.
But is getting access to lines of credit a problem? Is that the issue, the constraint?
Well, good news. My government has requested now. We are starting our process to asking for lines of credit of the Exim Bank of India that will tide us more. Because price of oil went down, so we need we've been affected because 50% of our incomes comes from gas. So we need other options, and lines of credit are there, and India is here, and we are here. We are starting already the process of looking projects into different assets of Bolivia. IT, for example, is a big one, right, to give you an example. Right. Infrastructure, agriculture. Sumitomo, I was telling you, is in mining. Samsung of Korea is building a huge urea plant. I hope I can
urea
say
for fertilizers. Okay,
fertilizer.
yeah.
I hope tomorrow I can say Tata or other big players of India are now in my country, and that's our job.
Right. My last question, but it's a big one. An emotional issue for many Bolivians is the fact that this country, which once had a larger area and which once had access to the Pacific, is today landlocked. You say that territory that once belonged to Bolivia, which gave you access to the sea, was taken over by Chile. You've tried for many years to negotiate with the Chileans. Tell us how the future prospects look for this landlocked state to once again regain access to the sea.
First and very important message, the whole country is together. Left, right, all. We want two former presidents of my country are on the committees of negotiation. Okay. And what we want is a sovereign access to the Pacific Ocean on a friendly matter. That's what we are asking. To see how organized we are now, we are on trial on to ask these things on the Justice Palace of The Hague in the Netherlands.
So there's arbitration now before the International Court of Justice.
Yes,
okay.
And we are claiming, and we just have an ad of Pope Francis that was in Bolivia towards the issue, and many important leaders in the world have given us our support.
So both Chile and Bolivia will accept the compulsory jurisdiction. What the decision will be binding, whatever the ICJ decides.
Yes,
is that the commitment?
And again, it has to be done on a friendly way, because that's our way of doing it. We are not asking for any other issue. We want to have access of the Pacific Ocean again.
And now that both Chile and Bolivia and also Peru, these three neighboring countries have governments that share a certain common approach towards political and social issues, does this make a negotiated solution to the question of access to the sea more easy?
We just had a bilateral meeting with Peru last month at the highest level, president and whole ministerial team, and we got the support of Peru. So that there is the sign, it's on Chilean side now to open and frankly have a solution on this issue.
Right. And Bolivia is not looking so much for territory as to have your own port and have access to that port.
Port is the main thing.
This is the main issue.
Yeah.
Right. Well, on that note, Ambassador Cardenas, thank you very much for joining us today on Indian Standard Time.
A pleasure. That's the aim of Bolivia, to be connected with the Indian people, and our mission is open to that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching IST. Do join us again next week with another guest. Thank you.